stuff. I'm just trying to figure out what it is. That's my next task. Rotate around.
You're still going to the office every day? Or?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started so everyone has enough time to eat. I'd like to welcome everyone to our past President's Luncheon. Thanks for everybody that has come out. This has been, I think, a much better year than last year for a lot of reasons. One, we can see each other. Two, we don't have masks by and large. And it's just been an overall better year for us. We've been able to kind of get back into the groove of what Kiwanis does for the community, and been able to actually get our census, if you will, back up to close to where we were pre-pandemic. Not quite there, but close. So we're glad that you all are able to make it, and we're glad we're able to see each other's face again. So we'll now have the Pledge of Allegiance. We don't have a flag, but if everyone will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Right.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Phil will now do the invocation, and after he completes the invocation, you can go out and have the buffet.
Let us pray. We give thanks for the leaders of the Kiwanis Club of Raleigh who are present in this room today and for those who are unable to be with us. Let us as leaders renew our commitment as a global organization of volunteers dedicated to improving the world, one child and one community at a time. We are making a big difference. However, the needs are tremendous, even in wealthy Wake County. We pray that you will give us the energy and the passion to do more as we work to recover fully from COVID, to strengthen our club so we can become even more effective as the club which cares for our children and youth. Now bless this food as we need it to strengthen our bodies so we can more fully meet the needs of the community that we love. In your blessed name we pray, amen.
Amen. All right, everyone can go out and grab your buffet or your plate before you go.
Well, you went somewhere else, didn't you?
No, not this year. I mean, I travel a lot.
Last year you were waiting on, specifically on one, I've heard that it's very well organized.
Yeah, but you want to go to the roll track this circuit.
All right, everyone, you can keep eating, but we're going to go ahead and proceed with the rest of the program. So we're going to first have John McClain. He's going to give us a state of the foundation. And after him, we'll have Sandra Birkhead who will give us a state of the club. And closing remarks will be made by Chris White. All right, so John McClain.
Thank you and good afternoon. I think it goes without saying for anybody who's been watching the stock market this year, this has been a challenging year for the foundation, not because of anything we have or have not done, I hope, and certainly not because of what Triangle Wealth Management has done in terms of managing our funds, but it is the reality that I report to you that what was in February 2021 a balance of our accounts of $1.1 million as of the last report which we received, which was in August of this year, is now $935,000. So we are down roughly $100,000 in the value of the corpus of the foundation. As I say, Lee and Paul continue, in our opinion, to do a wonderful job of managing our funds. And just to give you further perspective, the value of our assets back in 2019 was $700,000. So between that point in time and the beginning of this year, the value of our assets increased some $400,000. We're still up $225,000 over that 2-year period. But it does present challenges to the foundation board in terms of grants and the amount of money that we have to distribute to the various agencies who ask for our assistance. The grant process, ironically, will begin this afternoon. The board met on Monday. We have been working on getting the applications and the data, the sheets that go to our agencies together. And this year, we're going to attempt to do something we haven't done in the past, and that is to handle the entire process over the internet. We're going to email, and we're going to ask that they email their responses to us, and that way we don't have to be delivering packets to board members, et cetera, et cetera. We can just hopefully hit a button and they will get it. That process, as you are all, I'm sure, aware, is in order for us to determine the agencies who would like to have our assistance, and we ask that they identify what their project is, how much money they're seeking from the foundation, what percentage of their total budget for that particular project they're asking us to fund, and we also now ask them to tell us what the status is of the balance of your funding. I'm just making these numbers up. If your project is going to be $100,000 in cost, and you're asking the foundation to provide you with $3,000, obviously it's very relevant as to whether you're going to get the other $97,000. And we need to know that when we're determining whether or not we think that's the best utilization of our money. In recent years, we have modified the funding and the grant process, somewhat in keeping with the United Way. They did it, I think, about 10 years ago. But we've modified it to where we have started to give fewer grants with larger dollar amounts. The board made a decision that the reality was that the agencies we were funding, we all thought were worthwhile. But when we were funding an agency with $500 to $1,000, the question became, is that the best utilization of that money? And last year we modified our process to where now we are looking hopefully to make a minimum grant of the $2,500 to $3,000 range. And when you make larger grants with the same amount of money to distribute, obviously that means you can fund fewer grants. The process will culminate in December when the board meets for our final meeting, and we will at that time review all of the applications, we'll review all of the requests, and most importantly, Brian Bennett will tell us how much money we have to distribute. It is not until that December board meeting that we have truly any idea of how much money we're going to be able to distribute. But that will take place the first week of December. And once those decisions are made, then we will notify the recipients by the end of the month, and then schedule either in January or early February our regular meeting where we invite those recipients to come to our meeting and be recognized. So the club will know who they are. One more bit of data, the average grant in 2019 was $632 in value. In 2020, the average grant was $1,422. And last year, the average grant was $2,373. So you can see we're making progress in our endeavors to try to get that number up to a minimum of $2,500. And I expect we will be able to do that. That is the state of the foundation, other than the reality that the stock market's gone from 37,000 to, I don't know what it is today, 30,000, whatever, and the effect it's had on our investment. And again, I can't say enough nice things about Triangle Wealth Management and the job they do. And I would also like to ask each of you, the next time you see Brian Bennett, please tell him thank you for all the work he does for the foundation. It's under the radar screen. Board members will tell you it's not under our radar screen, but Brian does a wonderful job and helps the board more than can ever be described. So next time you see him, just tell him thank you and you appreciate what he does for the foundation, which then benefits the club. I'll be glad to answer any questions if I can.
John, it's been a while since I have had my fingers in the foundation's business, but do we fund scholarships per se?
No. No.
Has that ever been a consideration?
The club does that. Like Key Club and that. The club does that,
Oh, okay.
separate from the foundation.
Okay.
I can only say in the last 3 years it has not been a consideration, but thanks, Chris. Anybody else? No.
Thank
You
you.
too.
I thought there were women in the this club. Yeah, so I made some of these same remarks at the board meeting last week, and John Collar said he had to step out so he didn't hear them. So I said, don't worry, you're gonna hear them again now. So here are some of the things we accomplished in the past year. We proposed and got approval for a dues increase to take place over the next 5 years. Why is that important to this club? Our operating budget has been running at a deficit for a long time now. Now, fortunately, we had funds saved, and we were able to make up for that with what was saved. And we could have continued to do that for a while, but our board decided we didn't want to pass that buck on to Buck. So we took action. And we made the club sustainable. So that dues increase starts October 1st and will happen over the next 5 years to make our operating budget whole again. So that's the first thing. We launched a whole new website. So it's much more modern, much more accessible, and we continue to make improvements in that. We also made sure that our service budget had a real impact on our local community. We focused on a grant to foster teens who were having to be housed in an office building due to lack of funds. Really difficult situation. We felt great about that grant. And we also focused on Poole Elementary, our adopt-a-school school. So we had a luncheon for teachers. We're setting up a mentoring program for students there. We've done some projects on the grounds. I think that partnership is really great. We're also going to be starting a K-Kids program at Poole. We made a bunch of changes in some long-standing programs in order to do that, including the dictionary project. And that took some courage on the part of the board, but we felt really, really good about that decision in terms of impact. We created and funded a new technology committee. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you, thank you. So we're going to be able to use Zoom as a part of our meetings going forward. So if you're traveling and you want to Zoom in, you can do that. If you have COVID, like I did a few weeks ago, you need to Zoom in, you can do that as well. So we're looking forward to that continuing. We've got a new membership category called corporate members. So we'd like to expand that within the community. And we've initiated a membership committee to really focus on bringing in new members to the club. I'm really excited about some of the younger members that have come in and are very enthusiastic about helping to grow the club. We started October 20, what year is it, 2022? October 2021, we started with 202 members. We ended with 192. So a net decrease of 10. But I am really encouraged that we'll be able to get back to that 200 mark. And I'm very excited about turning the reins over to Stacy. She's going to be amazing. Any questions about how things have gone this year? Yes.
Sandra, I got a couple of questions. One, it seems to me that we have lost in the meeting agendas the singing of the patriotic song. And having, I guess I'm sort of longest removed from being president of the club, in the club, still living. Thank you. It was impressed upon me very clearly at the time that the club has certain traditions, and you need to maintain them, or we get somebody else that will.
We're known for being subtle.
Then, now.
It's very smooth.
Maybe there is a good reason for doing that, but frankly, I would like to see us get back to singing at each meeting. Kiwanis has a long history of, if you will, even booklets of songs, but we always sort of had the position we wanted to be a patriotic song.
So John, then we can count on you to lead the singing at Friday.
My wife would tell you that's a lost leader, right?
So yes, we did drop the song, and one of the reasons is Andrew Leader has moved to senior status and moved to Haw River, wherever he's built his new home. He was always our song leader. He's an incredible singer. He's got a great voice. He took on that role, and we just haven't found anybody who wants to jump back in and lead the singing each week, which is why
We've got enough folks. There's several in this room that sang the national anthem at the baseball game.
Sure.
It really only takes someone to get the first word out there. Everybody else joins in.
So here's
I wouldn't want
I'm
to
gonna
see
use-
that be the.
I'm going to use a management technique on you, John. If you find someone who would love to lead the singing, please have them come up, talk to me.
I'll second Clay.
You are now.
I'll second.
Clay will be doing.
I'd be glad to do it. I can't sing, but I can start.
No, please.
Okay.
There are enough people that you can anoint.
Oh, you need somebody to sing.
Exactly.
Yeah, both of the Ramsey brothers are great singers. They used to do it from time to time.
They did. They did. So, here's what we're going to do. Because tomorrow we have a speaker who is going to be really incredible and need additional time. I'm not going to do that tomorrow, but I'd be more than happy to do that. Clay, if you're going to be there on the 22nd and you're willing to lead a patriotic song, that would be wonderful. Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else?
The other thing I wanted to raise, and I think this is probably the right venue to do it in. Thankfully, we all have the board meetings and they get reported in the newsletter. I do read them. And one of the things I've noted in recent times is there is an awful lot of accounts receivable that had not, at least at that point, been collected. I got beaten over the head my tenure on the board. Don't let past dues get very large because people will wind up, in essence, jumping ship without ever having paid them. And I have spoken to a couple of folks, including Stacy, about this issue. Truthfully, in our club, with the folks that we have in here, if we've got accounts receivable at any point in time, other than maybe the first 30 days after an invoice comes out, that are more than $1,500 or $2,000, we're not managing as well as we ought to be. So I think attention needs to be paid to that. Yes, when I was president of the club, we excommunicated a few folks for non-payment of dues. And sometimes you just got to put your foot down, but you also have to remind people constantly, you have an obligation to us, we have an obligation to you, you got to take care of your side of it if you want us to take care of our side.
So, John, do you mind if I let you address the accounts receivable? I mean, I will say before
I just do the accounting.
before I turn it over to
I'm
John.
not the guy that breaks kneecaps.
Yeah, I will say that Courtney really does a great job of contacting people who are past due on their accounts, and we have lost a number of members because of that. I think during the pandemic, we probably have been a little less diligent about it than we may have been in the past, but I don't know what we have right now, but
with the August reports, And in the newsletter, you just get the total number. I don't think you get the breakout. So if you're reading the newsletter, you don't know what's 0 to 30 days or what's over 90 days. And there are only 2 categories in the August report. I'm glad I printed this out. Why did I know? 1 to 29 days as of August 31 is $8,734. We just had a billing, a members due, so that's not unusual. There is no other category except when you get to the 90+ day. It's the only other category we got an amount in. It's $2,336. To John's point, it's a valid point. I suspect we could post the names of those members in the newsletter.
We did it.
How many people are in the 2,000? Is that one person?
Well, you'd be surprised who's on that list.
No,
and I'll stop there.
But I mean, is the number more than 1 or 2?
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of them.
Yeah. It's more than 1 or 2. I will say I'm not one of them.
Is there anyone in this room who? But yeah, so I think that's part of a great part of the explanation is that 1 to 30 day bucket. That, if you get the notice, do you pay right away? Some people do.
Well, that was my point.
Yeah, a lot of people.
30 days is.
Yeah.
Since none of us are on the board except you, I wish y'all would make a motion. I think 90 days and then drop them. I mean, you try to go not paying your power bill or your water bill for 90 days. See what happens somewhere about 45th day.
We generally have a discussion about it. At each meeting, we discuss the longer term people who've been delinquent for a longer term and take some sort of action. And
Don't you send a letter? Did Courtney send a
Yes.
letter?
And or contacts them.
Contacts and Birkhead.
The only complication is sometimes with some of our members, maybe they might be having some issues, maybe some cognitive issues and things like that. So try to contact a person who maybe is a caregiver.
yeah,
To
you
be,
might need
and some of it is sensitive, but it's a valid point that we need to make sure that we get on top of it.
Yeah, we will absolutely continue to look at that. Anybody else?
I just like to say, those of you who know, I live in Richmond now, and I belong to the Richmond Kiwanis Club, which is a very similar club to this one, in that it meets downtown, and it's an old club and a large club. What I've seen since I rejoined the Raleigh club is that this club is just a super dynamic club. I like the fact that there are a lot of young members, a lot more than what we have right now. I was telling, I think Sandra at this table that the quality of the speakers is excellent. I just want to say it's a thrill to be back with this group, even though I can't attend meetings very often. I try to get on Zoom, but kudos to the Raleigh Kiwanis Club. Very good job. And it's a pleasure to be among this group.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for a really fantastic year and more meetings.
All right.
Thank you, Sam.
Chris, did you go to Carolina?
I did. So I was sitting across from Rocky Strickland one day, and Rocky said something to the effect that, "Do you ever wear red ties?" And I had on a Carolina blue tie that day, and I said, "I wouldn't wear a state red tie on Pentecost. I just have to ask for forgiveness." And sitting beside Rocky and across from me was John Ramsey. And John Ramsey said, "Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back." And so, I mean, we hadn't had to speak or anything. It was early on. We're just eating. And so John left. And then John comes back and he hands me this tie. And I hope no one in this room gave John this tie because he re-gifted it. And he said, I don't like to wear Carolina blue. And he said, I want you to have this tie. That's why I'm wearing this tie today. I didn't know if you'd be here or not. It's one of my favorite ties, and it was given to me by a fellow president of this Kiwanis club. And I'm glad to be here. So I wear Carolina blue something every day, Gary. Thank you. You're very kind to ask.
Well, that is a pretty.
Thank you. Thank you, John Ramsey. I was not here for invocation, and we have lost, I don't know if it was mentioned, and whoever gave the invocation, we've lost several past presidents since last year. I know we lost Frank Daniels.
Yeah.
Frank came to every past president's luncheon we had until COVID, and that was even though he wasn't a member anymore. But he faithfully came to our past president's luncheons. He was president in 1969, and so we started this in 2014. The year I was president, we started past president's luncheon. And a lot of what I did that year is I would try to say to myself, what would the Junior League of Raleigh do? Because everything they do is first class. And I knew that if I wanted to look at my wife, Danita, as the past president of Junior League, and if I wanted to do something, I said, well, what does the Junior League of Raleigh do? One of the things she said you should have is a past president's luncheon. You should get together and get all the past presidents club together, have fellowship, talk about the state of the club, state of the foundation, let them know what's going on, and ask these past presidents to remain engaged in the club. And that's what we did. In the first year we had it back in 2014, we had like 33 people there. I count 19 past presidents or presidents, I think, in here today. And so I think Mr. Walker, Harry Walker, may have passed away in the last year. And there was another president, I don't have my glasses on, past president who I think has passed away.
Carol Berry passed away.
Carol Berry passed away. Thank you, John, former law partner, passed away in the last year. And I think we may have had another person on this list. So I would say for those past presidents who've been with us in the past but aren't here with us this year, who passed away in the last year, if we could just have a moment of silence and remember and give thanks for their service to our Kiwanis Club. If you'll join me. Thank you. So I want to thank immediate past President L for asking me to speak. And I couldn't remember if he wanted me to give closing remarks or farewell remarks. He didn't tell me on what topic to speak. He didn't tell me how long to speak. I could just say,
You'll know, Chris.
If it's closing remarks, I could just say, thank y'all for being here. Have a good day. But I think y'all know me better than that. I'm not that short. So I'm going to start with what I was thinking about farewell remarks. For some reason, this popped into my head today. This morning, it's popped into my head. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with these lyrics or not. Good night, sleep tight, and pleasant dreams to you. Here's a wish and a prayer that every dream come true. And now till we meet again, adios, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, good night. Does anybody in here know what I'm talking about? Huh? It was
It was the end of a TV show.
It was the end of the Lawrence Welk show.
That's right.
Those lyrics are from Lawrence Welk.
Yeah.
And so those of you know it, and I know it, and that is Kiwanis' problem. Our problem is that we know those lyrics. Our problem is we have an age problem. I grew up in the 1960s when viewing the Lawrence Welk show on Saturday night was compulsory attendance in our household.
Yeah.
I will be 64 years old in December. I am the average age of the Kiwanis. I am the average age of a member of our club. So Kiwanis has an age issue. Kiwanis has an age problem. It's not just Kiwanis. It's all service organizations it's faith-based communities, but we have an age problem. Hugh is here today with us, and Hugh is a young person. We're so grateful to have Hugh in our club and have Hugh's energy and leadership as a board member. The Carolinas district is the oldest district in Kiwanis. Chronologically speaking, we may still be young at heart. We may be fleet of mind. Physically, we're slowing down a little bit, but we're still an effective and impactful service organization for children and youth. But we need to rejuvenate and reinvigorate our club in Kiwanis. I use the phrase fleet of mind, and I was hoping that Nick Fountain would be here. I'm disappointed Nick's not here, because this reminds me of a story in my days at Carolina. And Nick loves to bash Carolina any chance he gets, so I thought he could use this one. So in Chapel Hill, when I was a student, there's the pit in Chapel Hill. It's right outside the student store and the student union. And it's the First Amendment place. It's the place where you have the ultra left wingers and the socialists and the communists and the ultra right wingers and the birchers. And you have the Eastern religion, and you have the Bible thumpers and Judd. And I remember Stephen, who claimed he was Jesus reincarnated. All these people were in the pit. Right beside the pit was the cube. And the cube was like the First Amendment 4 walls. And that's where people put all the notices about what was coming up on campus. And the one that I remember was men's lacrosse had a poster they put up on the wall, wanting students to come to all the home games, had the home schedule and all that. And they had a picture of Carolina lacrosse players with the helmets and the sticks. And it's the tagline or the theme for the team that year was Carolina Kiwanis, fleet of foot. And somebody had come along with a magic marker. We didn't even have Sharpies back when I was in college. And underneath fleet of foot, they put slow of mind. And so that was my fleet of foot reference there. But I want to thank Nick. Nick has been working behind the scenes. I wish he was here to tell him, but with a number of members of our club, been circulating emails. We've even had one meeting at Nick's office where we had very good attendance, about 15 to 20 people, on how we can grow ourselves coming out of the pandemic. How can we grow our membership? How can we grow our service as we come out of this pandemic? I'm going to talk about our club and membership growth kind of at the end of the remarks. But what I thought I'd do just for a minute, I knew Sandra would be talking about the club. I knew John would be talking about the foundation. And the foundation, by the way, even though we've been hit by the figures of the stock market and investments and Triangle Securities Wealth Management doing such a great job, our foundation is almost as large, if not as large right now as the Carolinas District Foundation. All 140 clubs in North and South Carolina. We are a blessed club to have a charitable foundation that large. For those of us in this room that have a charitable family foundation or charitable foundation, thank you and your family for being philanthropic. But for those of us that don't have a family foundation, the Raleigh Kiwanis Foundation is our family foundation. It's our Kiwanis family. It's our service foundation. So thank you for everyone that supports the work of the Kiwanis Foundation. So here's just an update on Kiwanis International. The 22 Kiwanis Convention was held in Indianapolis, Indiana, back on June 8th through 11th. That's where Kiwanis International headquarters is located. I represented the district and our club at the convention as immediate past governor and delegate. It was the first time we had a House of Delegates since 2019 in Orlando. There were 12 proposed amendments and 1 resolution that came before the House of Delegates. Nothing controversial. Those that should have passed did. 9 proposed amendments passed, and those that should have failed, failed. 3 of those failed. We did not consider a dues increase. However, at next year's convention, the House of Delegates will be busy voting on the modernization of Kiwanis International bylaws, and it's almost certain that they will consider a Kiwanis International dues increase. Kiwanis cannot raise its dues without a vote and approval of the House of Delegates. That's probably going to come up for discussion next year. We'll hear about that as they try to prepare clubs for that in the upcoming year. So for anyone that our club sends to The convention next year is going to be in Minneapolis. It's going to be June 21st through 24th, and it's going to be probably a fairly wild house of delegates. By the way, Gary Cooper, who many of you know, he's in the Kiwanis Club of Fayetteville. He visited our club in person last week, he and his wife, Debbie. He is running for Kiwanis International Vice President. He would have run this summer, but he and his wife both had terrible, terrible cases of COVID that set him back for months. But he will be a candidate for Kiwanis International Vice President. The Carolinas District has only had 2 Kiwanis International presidents, one from Salisbury and one from Fayetteville. And so I hope our club will send one or more delegates to Minneapolis to also help campaign for Cooper for Kiwanis Vice President. The theme for this year's convention was Ready to Learn, Ready to Lead. We had lots of speakers, forums. I'm not going to go into any detail on that, except there was a lot of information that was presented for us to bring back to clubs. Here are some Kiwanis figures, just for your information. They appeared in the annual report, which was presented. The membership numbers are stated as pre-COVID, December 31, 2019. So they're not currently accurate. We don't have current numbers at this time. But as of December 31, 2019, 537,630 adults and youth are Kiwanians. That is in 8,386 Kiwanis clubs, adult clubs, and 8,268 youth clubs or our service leadership programs. We're in 85 countries and territories. For the 2020-21 fiscal year, which ended last September 30, Kiwanis had year revenues of $15,068,559. Total expenses exceeded revenues. Total expenses $16,843,841 for a net loss of $1,775,282. But after gains from investments, both realized and not yet realized, of $4,892,544, Kiwanis ended last year with a net increase in assets of over $3.1 million, and end-of-year net assets were $32,378,837. It was reported back in June that there are already 128 new Kiwanis clubs formed this year, a bunch more since then. I don't have the current figure. India is now a provisional district, and Kiwanis has worked on that for years, and all the government permitting and everything else to have India permit service organizations to come into their country. But now that's happened. So there's a provisional district in India. Their next door neighbor, Nepal, was very instrumental in that. The fastest growing district in all of Kiwanis is Nepal. They're opening clubs left and right. Fabulous. Also, there's the first education leadership conference in Africa ever for Kiwanis. And the goal is to have 2 provisional districts. There are already clubs in Africa. But to have 2 provisional districts in Africa, one French-speaking and one English-speaking. And most of the clubs in Africa have been formed by the district France-Monaco. They're very engaged in bringing Kiwanis to the continent of Africa. As far as international elections, Burt West from the Rocky Mountain District, he will be our president effective October 1 of this year in the new Kiwanis year. Katrina Barranco, who's a wonderful person. She is from the Georgia District. She was elected president-elect designate. So she will serve as president the following year in 23-24. And when she does, she will be the 3rd woman to serve as president of Kiwanis International in the last decade. Kiwanis International being the first international service organization to have a female president. First international service organization open to all people. With Sue Peterson, Jane Erickson, and next year Katrina Barranco, which is fabulous. We elected 3 trustees, one from Indiana, one from Pacific Northwest, one from Ohio. And the contested vice presidential race, which puts you in line to become president, was won by Lee Kuan Yew of Malaysia, a former Big 5 accounting firm partner for decades and a CFO in industry. And it was a very popular choice. On June 8th, there was a Distinguished Districts and Distinguished Leaders banquet in the Indiana Ballroom. I'm glad to announce that the Carolinas District was named a Distinguished District for the 2020-21 year. There are 49 districts in Kiwanis International, 28 of which are in the United States and Canada. And the Carolinas District is one of only 6 districts named a Distinguished District. Because of the hard work of everyone in our district being distinguished, that made me a distinguished governor. And I was awarded this signet ring, which I have right here, by the immediate past president of Kiwanis International, Art Raleigh. It's the first time that the Carolinas District has been so honored since the 2011-2012 year. Now at the Carolinas District level, we held our district convention back in August 12th through 14th in North Charleston. 5 trustees were elected, 3 for 3-year terms and 2 for 2-year terms. Lieutenant governors are not board members in the Carolinas District. Trustees are board members, and the officers are members of the board. 4 of the 5 trustees elected are women, so that's fabulous also. Mary Winfrey from the Robinson Lumberton Kiwanis Club was elected governor-elect designate. She takes over October 1. Mary is a member of the Lumbee Indian tribe. She's an owner of a job placement business. She is an outgoing, positive, humble, energetic person, and she will do a great job as our governor. Her theme for this year is creating hope through service in the Carolinas. And then Donnie Ellis from the Kiwanis Club of Lake Norman, who's been involved in Kiwanis for probably close to 50 years, from Key Club through CKI through Kiwanis, and is a member of multiple Kiwanis clubs in multiple districts. At Tennessee, Kentucky, he's moved from there to the Lake Norman area. Kiwanis Club of Lake Norman. He was elected governor-elect designate. He loves Kiwanis, and he will be very passionate about his service. Our governor this year is Joe Crostic. You may remember Joe visited us back on October 1st, his first day in office. He has done a fabulous job as governor. We've opened a club in Pender County. There are 2 more getting very close to opening, and they're trying to get those open before September 30 in Charleston. Membership year to date is positive. We don't know if it will end on September 30. Lots of clubs, small clubs, wait and drop members at the very end of the year. We're hoping for positive membership, but we've only had about 2 positive membership growth years since 2000. Membership is an issue, not just at the club level, not just the international level, but also our district level. My term as governor ends in this immediate past governor ends in 15 days. I've served on the board consecutively for 3 years as a trustee, followed by 3 years as a district officer. Today is day 2,176 of consecutive service to the Carolinas District, not the New Orleans County. I have 15 days left, but it has been an honor to represent our club and serve on the Carolinas District Board, and also to serve as governor, joining Harry T. Adams, 1924, Guy Rawls, 1958, and C.A. Dillon, Jr., 1982, as our club members who have served as governor. And Harold Gardner, who is not here with us, but is a member of our club. Harold served as governor also, when he was a member of the Kiwanis Club of Gardner before he joined our club. One thing that all 4 of those have in common is that either the year before, the year during, or the year after they served, Carolina won the men's basketball. And we came within 3 points this year with Kansas of that happening again. So my hope is that maybe this coming year that will happen. I'm hoping there's some karma in there somewhere. Finally, Kiwanis Club of Raleigh. At this time, our club has 192 members. And we are the largest club in the Carolinas District by about 40 members, Fayetteville being the 2nd largest. Fayetteville, we may be the only 2 clubs with over 100 members now. But that is the lowest level that our membership has been since before 1958, where we are right now. In 2014, we had just 2 more members than we have right now. We were at 194, and Rocky came to see me and said, "This is the lowest level we've been since 1958. And Phil Kirk was our membership chair that year. Tarver Salmons was our vice chair. And through lots of hard work by Phil and by Tarver and every member of the club, from January 1, 2014 to January 1, 2016, in 2 years, we recruited 59 new members. And we went from 194 to 242. But in these last 6 years, we've been having reduction or creep, if you will, reduction every year. And COVID has cost us about 30 net members. COVID has hit us very hard. But it's a little bit of a caution. I've given this example before, but Asheville, for example, Asheville used to have over 150 members. They have about 10 now. They're not going to make it unless they have some type of major surgery. Durham used to be over, the Hope Valley Country Club and the Nello Tears and everything else used to be over 150 members. They're down to 10 to 15 members because they don't address membership. Greensboro used to be in 2013, they were at 165. They're down to around 89 or 90 right now. I'm just saying this is a caution to us that we need to have an emphasis on membership growth and membership engagement, not just bringing members in, but having work for them to do, having service projects for them to do. So, as past presidents of the club, we need your help. When we had our second past governors luncheon, it was 2015. So we put this in our budget. When I first put it in the budget, I had $1,000 budgeted for this meal and got the board to approve it. And Rocky, bless his heart, cannot believe you're putting in the budget $1,000 for a past president's luncheon. It will pay dividends. If the junior league does it, what would the junior league do? So we went along with it. So year 2, we had this luncheon out at NC State. And that was the time when KC were launching the Centennials Park project. And John got up to speak, and Nick Fountain speak, and they had the marketing materials and showed us what we wanted to do with Sassafras All Children's Playground in Kiwanis Park. And so they had the cards to hand out about making gifts or pledges, and they had them out to the past presidents. And at the end of the meeting, it's kind of a silent phase. We had $82,000 in gifts and pledges from this group for the Centennial Parks project, which was the launch. We ended up raising $418,500. But I went back the next meeting after that, sitting across from Rocky. We used to sit across from each other all the time. I said, Rocky, that $1,000 was money well spent. Yes. And I agree. So we asked for your help then, and you helped us financially. If I could ask for your help now going forward, it would be to help us in membership. Help our club identify for potential prospects. If you would, please invite them and then ask them to join our club. If for some reason you're uncomfortable inviting them yourselves, if you will give us their names, their contact information, we'll be glad to reach out to them, say we got them from you, and invite them to visit our club, to come to one of our service projects or something, so we can invite them to join Kiwanis. If you have any ideas on ways that we can increase our service or service projects, or ways that we can improve anything we do in how we deliver service in our club, reach out to incoming President Stacy Askew, and she is already fabulous in getting ready for this coming year. I think Stacy will have a really good job. Reach out and give her your suggestions. And the third thing I would ask is members, your ideas, and the third thing is whenever you can, visit our club, come to our meetings, having you there at the meetings, and if we have a guest, going up to the guest and introducing yourself and say, I hope you come back, hope you consider joining the club. I'm so-and-so, I used to be President's Club. It's a great club to belong to. That could be impactful and very helpful. So I want to thank each and every one of you for your faithful service to our Kiwanis Club, and look forward to being with y'all again, not just at meetings, but being back with you again at our next Past Presidents Luncheon, which will be our 9th Past Presidents Luncheon. Thank you.
So,